ज्ञानयोगः श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं पृष्ठवानहमव्ययं दिवस्यान्मनवे प्राह मनोरीक्षा कवे ब्रवीत्। एवं परंपरा प्राप्त मंगराज तयो विदु काले नेह महता योगो नश्च परम तप। चतुर्थोऽध्यायः ज्ञानयोगः श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं पृष्ठवानहमव्ययं दिवस्यान्मनवे प्राह मनोरीक्षा कवे ब्रवीत्। एवं परंपरा प्राप्त मंगराज तयो विदु काले नेह महता योगो नश्च परम तप। Nitya Yoga Prutta Svana Puratana Bhaktosi Me Sakha Cheti Rahasang Ketadittamam. Arjunuvacha Aparang bhavatu janama parang janama divasata Pathavi tad vijaniyang samadu prastavanti. Bhagavad-gita Bahuni me patitani janamani tavacharjuna Tanaham veda sadavani nastan vitta parantapa. Ayogi Sharnabhayatma Bhutanani Sharupishan Prakritim Swamadadhistaya Ambhavami Atmamaya. Dharmasya Glanirthamati Bharata Adbhutthanam Dharmasya Tadatmanam Jannaham.
But when watching the serial, you automatically you learn so many
right.
things from there, and I can still remember so many things from there.
Okay, so whose turn is it? Is it Radharani is busy. Maybe Didi, you want to read?
Oh, but whenever there is a decline of religion and an uprising of irreligion, I personally make my advance.
Haribo. Okay.
Paritrādāya sadhūnāṃ vināṣāya ca duṣkritāṃ dharma samsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge.
Okay. Are we there? Paritrānāya sadhūnāṃ vināṣāya ca duṣkritāṃ dharma samsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge.
I appear age after age to deliver the sacred devotees, vanquish the mysterious and firmly establish true religion.
So, so many avatars, they are coming, and there are different types of avatars. They're coming for different purposes. What is being described here is the Yuga avatar, a descent of the Lord that comes for the purposes that are described here. When there's an uprising of irreligion, when there's this imbalance in society, there's an uprising of irreligion, a decline of religion, to remove the put a check on the wicked persons and to save my devotees. Okay. So then we can go to the next verse.
Janama karma chame dibbam evang jo vetti tattata tatta dehang punarjanama naiti mameti sorjuna.
Oh, and I didn't say dharma that's the most important part. Dharma samstapanartaya, to establish the religion of the age, because there are the Vedas prescribe different dharmas for different ages, according to the mentality, the nature of the people and society. There's a particular religion, spiritual practice that is prescribed. So in this current age of Kali Yuga, that is recognized to be kirtan, spread by, or Sankirtan, spread by the Lord in the form of Sri Chaitanya Dev. Okay. Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Okay, so we'll chant this verse together, verse 9. Right? That's where we are. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyaktva deham punar janma naiti ma meti sarjuna. This is also a very famous verse. Our gurus quote this many times. York, you want to read that?
O Arjuna, one who comes to know the truth of my pastime of divine birth and activities does not undergo rebirth. After giving up this body, attained me, my grace is revealed to him, and my personal transcendental joyful potency, Harati Shakti. His faith is melted in divine love, and he attains an eternal devotional service.
So, specifically speaking about Krishna, we can say that the nature of his lila, his activities within this world, they are described as prakrita, which means, the word prakrita, that means material or mundane. So then aprakrita means not prakrita or not mundane, but the implication is also there that it may appear to be prakrita, it may appear to be mundane, it may appear to be material, but actually it is not. So it is the Lord's posing. It is not necessary for him, but he is posing in that way as an ordinary person for his own purpose. But if one can look beyond that objective cover, appreciate the substance within, that realization will affect one's own. That realization will affect one's own liberation. And another comment our Gurudev made about this is in a general sense to be able to appreciate the essence of spiritual life, spiritual practice, Krishna consciousness. This word, he commented about this word tatvata, which is the word for word here, the reality. So like the real means like the reality, the real truth, the substance. So he said, this is indicating that we must be able to appreciate the essence of spiritual life, not just in a formal, ritualistic, external way, but we need to move forward in an essential way, develop some substantial understanding. And he gave one very nice example that when will this have been? In the early 1900s, maybe in the 1920s, I can't say, or 1930s, I can't say exactly when, but around that period, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's the last pictured here in the last picture, he led this like revival of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the line Vaishnavism that was, given by Sri Chaitanya Dev. And he began this great mission with 64 branches all over India. And he had this, he started out alone, and by the end he had like this massive group of very qualified and powerful preachers, who were traveling all over India spreading these teachings. But one of them, his name was Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Saranga Goswami. You've heard of him? Oh, really? Okay. And so on one occasion they went with a group to Kashmir, and they're going everywhere according to necessity, and sometimes there will be a nice place to stay, sometimes not, and sometimes they would have friends they could stay with, sometimes not. So this one place, on this occasion they went to Kashmir, and they didn't have any friends nearby, and so there was nobody who was cooking for them according to what they normally take. And so they took their lunch one day in some type of restaurant, and the food wasn't 100% sattvic, according to the Vedic standard. There was some onion, they were using onions, garlic, like that. And as you know, and like according to somebody following like strictly the Vedic standard, it's like not acceptable. You must be familiar with that, right? Sattvic foods and.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
But on the northern hemisphere, garlic is very important.
Okay.
For the health.
Right. Of course, it's very good for health. Yes.
Yes. No,
but
especially it's different because that's from the south part of the earth, where they use just different vegetation for that.
Okay.
And the north hemisphere is much more poor on the vegetation. And the garlic is a very important source of minerals and vitamins.
Yes, it's very, very good for the health. Absolutely. But according to the Vedas, they classify foods in terms of sattva, raja, and tama. These modes of nature. You're familiar. Okay. Well, that's described later in Bhagavad-gita. We'll come to that. These three different energies, three different modes or aspects of the material energy. Sattva means goodness, raja means passion, and tama means ignorance.
Yes.
And now you've heard of that. And so for persons who are cultivating a spiritual life, it's advised that they try to live a life in the mode of goodness, or sattva gun. So to follow sattvic practices, to eat sattvic foods, and to have a sattvic occupation, to speak in a sattvic way, and so on and so forth. It is said that is conducive to spiritual life. And so there are some foods that are, they're classified in different ways. So like, for example, milk will be described as being in the mode of milk, and grains, fruits, they'll be described as foods in the mode of goodness. I would think meats, animal flesh would be in the mode of passion, and then things like garlic, mushrooms, onions, they're in the mode of ignorance, I think, right? In tamagun. So they affect our consciousness in different ways, in these ways.
No garlic, no mushrooms.
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, this is the Vedic standard, and that's how we live. We're not fanatical about it, and I have some friends in this movement who they're attached. They like mushrooms and they eat mushrooms. So it's not, if someone's coming from a particular background, then it's a little different. Like for example, in Brazil, they from the age of 6 years old, they're drinking coffee. It's not considered a big deal. But generally, for one who's following this path, you won't take coffee, tea, these types of intoxicants. And myself, because I've never really drunk tea, I've never drunk coffee, if I take a little bit, I feel it. I become agitated, I become disturbed, I won't be able to sleep. If I take like a little bit of tea in the afternoon, I won't sleep at night. So because I've always lived a very sattvic life from my birth, and I really feel these things. But somebody else, if they've been accustomed to that from an early age, it's like their culture, it's not really a big deal for them. And so we don't see it as so important and necessary for them to give that up. So I would say in the same way, if that's like your culture, your habit, you're taking mushrooms, this is like your background, then it's just like it's a part of your life,
Part of your ignorance.
What?
Part of ignorance.
No, I mean it's just cultural background. It does make a difference, These are general recommendations, but everybody has to look at themselves and decide if they think it's appropriate and necessary for them. I mean, eating meat, that is absolute no, not acceptable. No. Not acceptable. Because there's too much violence. That's the reason. Because everything we actually recognize consciousness everywhere. Jai Mahaprabhu. Jai. That's why we say like going vegetarian, going vegan is not the answer actually, because you're still it's not the final answer, because you're still causing harm to plant life. There's still consciousness in plant life. So we can't actually avoid exploiting. We can't avoid disturbing the environment, but we try to minimize it. And so animals, they have a much more higher level of consciousness than plants do. So we're creating, if we take animals for ourselves, then we're creating a lot more disturbance. We're creating much more violence, because they're feeling that more than if we're taking some plant. Of course, the highest consideration is that we're taking prasad. We're offering to the Lord what He likes, and then we're taking His remnants. So that's the main spiritual reason. But also, we're trying to minimize the violence that we create in the environment. So for that reason, I'm saying for persons who want to seriously practice what we're practicing, then eating meat is prohibited strictly. But other things, tea, coffee, mushrooms, onions, there's some more, laxness about that. One will have to sincerely ask themselves, is this disturbing my spiritual practice or not? And for some persons, they may not feel it really makes a difference to them, but others, they will feel that. So I went on a big side track here. So for persons who are trying to live like a Brahminical lifestyle in the mode of goodness, and especially like in Vedic India, it's like you cannot take onions. This is like a big deal. In the West, this is hard to understand, but like for someone who's familiar with this type of culture and lifestyle, it's like totally, unacceptable.
In India, there's 100 more vegetation available compared to the West.
What's that?
In India, you can choose out of another 100 vegetation.
Yes. Yeah, look, I'm not trying to criticize anyone at all. I'm just giving some background to this. That's all. I have no problem if you take onions, really. Please. What's that?
Big sinister every day.
Please don't say that. I have friends. I have good.
At least I'm honest.
I have. Don't. It's not a big deal. I have good friends in Krishna consciousness. They also eat onions. So please don't be. I'm just giving you some background to the story that I'm going to tell you.
Everything is gradual. If you see what it does and that you don't need it actually, or it's all gradual. You get so much information, then you check it out, you do some research, you read it, and then you add, Yeah, it takes time. Yeah. The main thing is the heart. You're coming and you're wanting to learn. That's the main thing. Yeah.
So they had nowhere else to go for lunch. They came to this restaurant and they were served some different preparations. And then there was some dal, some lentils, and they're eating. And then somebody noticed there were some onions in that. And then they said, "Oh, there's onions in this. We cannot eat this. This is not pure." And then Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Sranga Goswami Maharaj, he said, "You are seeing onions, I am seeing Mahaprasad. I am seeing the Lord's own grace. Food has come to us." Because his vision was, like, we're here to do service. We're here for preaching the Lord's message. And we don't have anywhere else to go for food. We've come to this place, and this is what has come. It's come from the Lord. This has come from Krishna. So maybe materially speaking, it's pure or impure. But spiritually, it's perfect because this is what has come from above. This was his vision. And so our Gurudev, he liked that story very much. He told it many times. And he gave that as an example of having this mood of being able to appreciate the essence, to eliminate the cover of things, formality, and appreciate the essence, the substantial part. For some higher purpose, we may be lax on lower considerations. It is like sometimes persons would offer things to our Gurudev that weren't like 100%, pure, or they weren't maybe prepared like so perfectly. But his mood was, I'm taking affectionately what the devotees are giving me. They're giving me their love and affection. I'm not looking at the food so much, but they're giving me their hearts. They're giving me affection, and that's what I'm taking. I'm more interested in that loving exchange. Like once some of our Chinese devotees, they gave him some rice wine. They're like totally innocent. They don't know, like we don't take, they're not thinking, oh, he's not going to take wine. They're just thinking, this is some very nice rice wine and it's in this beautiful bottle and they want to offer it. Our Gurudev, he didn't drink it, but he very happily accepted it, and he kept it on his wall, on his shelf. Now somebody could come and see that and they could criticize him. What is this? He's supposed to be a big sadhu and he has this wine on his wall. He didn't care about that. He was reciprocating with their affection. Okay, so what time is it? Maybe we can do one or two more verses. Okay, we can do maybe one or two more. So we are on verse number 10.
Vitarag bhayo krodha manmaya madupasritaha bhavo gyana tapasa puja mad bhavamagataha.
Vitaraga vaya krodha manmaya mamupashita bahavo jnana tapasa puttamad bhavam agata. I think it's Maya's turn.
Freeing from attachment, fear and anger, many persons have taken shelter in me, absorbing their hearts in my services, hearing, chanting and remembering. Purified by knowledge and the fire of ordeal in my service, they attain divine love for me.
Jai.
I forgot what is ordeal.
Ordeal means difficulty.
Okay.
You know about that. The fire of ordeal in my service. But it must be so for our purification. That trouble must come to purify us, shake us up and clean us up. Okay. Well, maybe we'll stop there because the next verse we want to discuss a little bit more. So we're going to stop on verse 10. Next week we'll continue with verse 11. So much food for thought there. Anyone have any last comments or questions or anything?
This last verse is so beautiful.
Yes, it is so beautiful.
Can you read it again?
Yeah. You read, Tidi?
Free from attachment, fear, and anger, many persons have taken shelter in me, absorbing their hearts in my services, healing, chanting, and remembering. Purified by knowledge and the fire of ordeal in my service, they attained divine love for me.
Jnana tapasa puta. By jnana and by tap, by knowledge and by tap, austerity, difficulty, they attained me.
We sometimes give that analogy of a diamond, like the soul, and it is now covered, the soul is covered with so many attachments and misconceptions maybe, or entanglements, and by this ordeal, or by these, the difficulties, the challenges in life, the tests in life, then the diamond will be, how do you say? Polished. So that all these impediments will go, and the diamond, the soul can shine. The self, the soul as it is, can be beautiful and shining and golden.
The craftsman for that.
That's the craftsman is us. And we have also an explanation. Our Guru Maharaj Param Gurudev said, don't quarrel with your tools. A good craftsman doesn't quarrel with his tools, and then sometimes they say
You can sit in a chair, no? Take a chair, no problem.
Okay, next time. I'm broken everywhere. Seriously.
So when it comes to us, because it comes by the divine will of the Lord, the challenges in our life, to polish that diamond, to make us aware, oh, I have to learn something here. There's something here what I have to be aware of and be humble about, or appreciate more, or see something that I have to change, and then we can leave it. And that is so if we quarrel with, as a good craftsman, we quarrel with this opportunity to bring the better us out, then we quarrel with our stools. Actually, it's karma. The karma comes to us, right? And we have to accept that. And
Brutal force of causes bring the diamonds on the surface of earth.
Exactly. So the higher devotees, they can see everywhere it's good. Everything is good. Everywhere is the Lord. Everywhere there is the love, the way from above to help us. Only if we have the strength not to succumb to our desires, to our our impulses, or the dictations of the mind and the senses and the body, from so many lifetimes. But this life we have to attain a higher life, a spiritual life, not something here like by the senses and by the body. The impulses of that to follow that. It's a passage through this life actually to attain something higher. That is the soul play. That's so beautiful actually, and we have that opportunity.
Anything else?
I'm traveling to Italy tomorrow morning. We're having some programs at our ashram there by Milan. So I'm not going to be here next Wednesday, but Yasimar, she's going to come into the class. So he'll be here with you next week.
Any homework?
What's that?
Any homework?
Well, you did your homework, but not everyone else did the homework. So I don't know if I should trouble everyone again. Okay, well, homework is always optional. You already know these 2 verses, Yada, Yada, Yada.
Not by heart.
Okay, yeah, I think those verses are nice to learn, both of them, 7 and 8. Or you can start with 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 7, you can learn 7. Those are very nice. This chapter has few verses actually that are good to learn. Also, this verse 11 that we're coming to is also very good to learn. And also the famous verse Tadvidi Pranipatina, that's coming up. That's also very good to learn. But yeah, you can start with verse 7. Ragani, I want you to learn also. Because you can learn, right? You can learn 7. It's good. And you'll be very authentic. If you're preaching to like an Indian group especially, then, oh yeah, we know that verse. She knows what she's talking about. Alright. I would like to, do you have one of these Gitas? You have this one?
No, we
I
have
would like
As
to,
it is.
as
yeah.
it is.
oh, you have, okay, that's also good, yeah. I would like to give you a Gita. You have only an English version, right? Okay, I'm going to give you one. You can take home then. Vaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna Jai Bhagavan Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki Jai Shri Guru Guru Varga ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Saraswati Shri Mahaprabhu ki Jai Shri Abhidikram ki Jai Shri Gangadhara ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Tulasi Devi ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Shama Kundadakam Giri Govardhan ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki Jai Vishnu Vyapi Tadiya Shakaman ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat London Chapter ki Jai Jai Shri Bhakti Nirvana Charja Marj ki Jai Charja Vrinda ki Jai Seva Vrinda ki Jai all the assembled devotees and guests ki Jai all the world devotees ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Time Lord
Vishakha Devi ki Jai.
Take some prasadam.